The first light of dawn slips through the pines as a young warrior kneels on dewy grass, his breath misting in the cool air. In the distance, the clatter of wooden swords echoes between the trees, punctuated by the low thrum of taiko drums, calling samurai trainees to rise. This is the world of Shugyo, rigorous training where every muscle, every thought, every heartbeat is honed for war. From childhood, the path of a samurai is paved with drills and discipline. At the age of 7, boys enter the dojo of their domain's resident master, the sensei who will shape their bodies and their spirits. They bow, feet scrupulously aligned, voices steady as they recite their pledge. To serve their lord with unwavering loyalty, to perfect both sword and mind. Then begins the daily rhythm of training. Kata forms practiced in silence, footwork ingrained through endless repetition, and the slow, deliberate motions of sword drawing and sheathing. In summer, the trainees rise before sunrise. Water buckets stand by the wooden steps, and each boy pours cold water over his arms and face, a shock to the senses meant to steel them against fear. Under the vast sky they perform saburi, hundreds of overhead strikes with bokken, wooden swords heavier than steel blades. The relentless up and down motion builds strength in the shoulders and arms. The echo of wood against wood becomes a mantra, forging focus and endurance. A single misplaced swing risks a blow to a training partner, so every cut must land true. As the sun climbs, the sensei instructs archery on horseback, yabusame. Horses are restless, their flanks slick with sweat, as boys climb atop lacquered saddles and grip the reins in one hand, yumi in the other. They charge down a narrow track toward a row of wooden targets. At full gallop, each youth must draw the long asymmetrical bow, nock an arrow, and release in one fluid motion. The arrow thuds into the timber with satisfying force. Missing carries consequences. Extra laps around the grounds, heavier training equipment strapped to the body, or a stern lecture on the necessity of precision in battle, where a single miss might cost a comrade's life. When autumn arrives, training shifts to the spear and the long naginata. Under a canopy of crimson leaves, pairs of trainees spar in protective armour. The spear is a weapon of reach and timing. The naginata demands fluidity and grace. Each thrust and parry is a conversation of steel, the timing and distance measured in tiny increments of foot movement and wrist flex. Sensei watched closely, barking corrections. Shorten your stance. Eyes on the center line. Relax your grip. These voices become internalized, guiding each motion even when battle fury flares. Winter brings its own trials. The snow falls thick, blanketing the training yard in white silence. Warriors don padded jackets and trousers, the cold nip of wind driving them into the dojo's warmed halls for grappling practice. Jutta, the art of disarming with short, iron-tipped truncheons, and aikijutsu, the redirection of an opponent's energy. They learn to seize wrists, twist arms, and topple larger adversaries using leverage rather than brute force. In tight quarters, these techniques prove invaluable. Men travel with little space inside war encampments. Combat is as likely to occur in narrow streets as on open fields. Throughout the year, mental training runs parallel with physical drills. Samurai memorize battlefield maps, study classic texts on strategy like Sun Tzu's Art of War and the writings of Minamoto no Yoshitsune. They debate tactics late into the night by candlelight, when to form shield walls, when to break into cavalry charges, how to coordinate Ashigaru foot soldiers armed with pikes and arquebuses. They learn to read the weather and the terrain, to use fog and marshland as allies, to adapt formations on the fly when ambushed by guerrilla scouts. A crucial moment in a samurai's development comes in the test of temen, endurance of harsh labour. Trainees haul heavy logs for fortifications, dig defensive ditches by hand, and carry buckets of earth through ankle-deep mud. Their arms ache, their backs strain, but the work is more than physical hardship. It forges unity. Soldiers sweat and curse together, learning that a single fallen comrade can endanger the entire line. When they drop their burdens, they stand taller, shoulders back, a collective pride binding them as brothers in arms. In spring, after months of preparation, the domain holds its semi-annual war games. Warriors don full armor, lamella cuirass, iron helmets with fierce crest, arm guards, greaves, and assemble on open ground. Drummers set the tempo as commanders form ranks. Ashikaru pikemen shield the flanks. Arquebusiers kneel behind wooden barricades, and mounted samurai hold the reserve. The trainee, now almost a man, grips his katana and lowers his head. The clash begins with a volley of matchlocks, smoke curling through the pretzel of banners. Spears thrust, swords slash, bodies collide. These mock battles allow Sensei to assess each student's temperament under fire. Does he hold his line? Does he hesitate? Does he protect the wounded or flee? Beyond the spectacle of battle drills, individual mastery remains paramount. Once a week, a senior swordmaster conducts an eye test. Blindfolded, the trainee stands at the center of the dojo as two master swordsmen circle him, swinging bokken at head and torso level. The apprentice must sense the direction of each strike by sound and subtle shifts in wind, then duck or parry with precise timing. One false move, and the wooden blade finds its mark. It is a lesson in calm awareness. In war, death can come from an unseen blow, and only a composed mind can perceive danger in the half-second before it arrives. Nutrition and rest are also treated as tools of war preparation. In the heat of summer, trainees eat bowls of rice gruel flavored with wild vegetables to maintain energy without bloating. In winter, they feast on fatty fish and pickled roots to keep their bodies warm. Sleep is regimented, lights out at dusk, wake at first crow of the rooster. Yet during campaigns, complaints of exhaustion are met with cold showers and forced marches, breaking spirits until only the most resolute remain. As the teen years wane, each samurai in training must embark on Musha Shugyo, a warrior's pilgrimage. He travels alone to distant provinces, visiting renowned weapons masters and Zen temples. He lives in humble lodgings, often subsisting on alms. In every dojo, he joins temporary training sessions, honing new skills, perhaps learning the twin sword style from one master, the spear tactics of another, or the silent footwork of a ninjutsu instructor in the mountains. He enters temples to learn meditation and drought endurance, holding seated posture for hours in cold water that seeps through tatami. This solitary journey tests adaptability and the capacity to endure without patronage. On returning home, the young warrior undergoes final evaluation before his lord. He demonstrates proficiency in all weapons, bow, spear, sword, and even the surprising art of matchlock firing passed down by European traders. He recites lines from the Hagakure, or Yamaga's treatises, showing that he embodies not just martial skill, but the virtues of Bushido: loyalty, courage, rectitude, and honor. Only then is he granted an official stipend of rice and allowed to don the daisho, the paired swords that mark a samurai. But training never truly ends. Even veteran warriors continue drills between battles, visiting rural dojos to spar with novices, testing new techniques gleaned from recent skirmishes. In peacetime, they cultivate tea ceremony, poetry, and calligraphy. not as mere aesthetic pursuits, but to refine their minds, teaching patience and attention to detail that translate back to the battlefield. The samurai's life is a cycle of constant self-improvement, sword practice at dawn, strategy lessons by day, meditation at dusk, and reflection in between. When war finally comes, the samurai stands ready. His body bears the marks of thousands of strikes, his lungs accustomed to the burn of exhaustion, his hand steady on the hilt. In the clash of armies, he remembers the countless hours of drilling, the shock of icy water in winter, the isolation of the Musha Shugyo, and with every heartbeat, he trusts in that preparation to carry him through. The steel sings, banners billow, and in that moment, the warrior becomes the perfect instrument of his training, swift, disciplined, and unyielding. This is how samurai trained for war, through relentless practice, mental fortitude, and a lifetime dedicated to mastering both blade and spirit. Thanks for watching. On our channel, you'll find more in-depth stories about samurai life and reel their history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments below. See you in the next video.